cause of all the catastrophes we are seeing today is overpopulation. We are proud to unveil the only practical remedy to humanity's gravest problem. Are you ready, Doctor?
Yes, I'm ready.
Wow. That is wild, isn't it? It's just wild. That's Dave Johnson.
Hey, everybody.
And Carol. He never struck me as the kind of guy who'd go get small.
Downsizing takes the pressure right off.
Plus, you're really making a difference.
You mean all that crap about saving the planet?
Yeah.
Downsizing is about saving yourself. We live like kings. Got best houses, best restaurants, Cheesecake Factory. Got 3 of them.
In Leisureland, your $52,000 translates to $12.5 million to live on for life.
Wow.
Do you understand that you will undergo the permanent and irreversible medical procedure commonly known as downsizing, and that your bodies will be approximately 0.0364% of their current mass and volume?
Nervous?
Little.
Well, Mr. Payne, congratulations for making this fresh and original movie. And I thought it was so funny, so magical, and the cast was perfect. So to start, can you talk about where did the idea come from?
We meaning my co-writer and I, Jim Taylor, started writing the film in 2006. Right
11 years ago?
Yeah, after Sideways. I'd wanted this to be my follow-up to Sideways.
Oh.
We had kind of we had a pretty good success with Sideways, and I thought, well, after 4 feature films, it might be fun to make something a little bit bigger, a little bit more ambitious. And we wanted to return to some of the political, social satire we had done in our first 2 films, Election and Citizen Ruth. But we didn't have the metaphor, because you can't do something literally. You know, we had high school as a metaphor, for example, in Election. And then Jim Taylor's brother had talked to Jim about, not even as a film idea, just sort of in general. If you were this small, you could have a big house, and, one Big Mac could feed 10,000 people and that sort of thing. Jim and I took that idea and thought, well, how would that really, really come into existence? Well, probably as a solution to overpopulation and climate change. And who would probably think of that and engineer it? Well, probably Scandinavians, because they're brilliant and crazy enough to think of stuff like that. They're the most progressive people on the planet. Well, who are there? Norwegians. So we didn't set out to make a film about climate change and overpopulation, but that was the entry point. And then once we had this premise, this metaphor, which you could call science fiction, but for us it's more satirical, we saw we had an idea net that we could throw over a lot of elements of society that we would want to touch upon, or that this idea would touch. And then in choosing the Matt Damon character, we chose a basic story and a protagonist to serve as a vehicle to guide us through a world in which this is happening.
So Matt was already on your mind from day one?
Oh, God, no.
No? Oh, okay. So none of the actors that you cast for this film was on your mind from day one?
None of them.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Jeff Lanowski, Senior Product Specialist and Happy Homeowner here at Leisureland Estates. You having a good time? Yeah. So, what do you think of my place? Just wait till you see what's inside.
You've got to stop inviting guests over without telling me. I finally just got in the tub to relax after such a busy day. First, I took a tennis lesson and had a massage.
Nice.
And then after a gourmet lunch with the girls, well, we couldn't help ourselves, so we popped into that new Loger jewelry store downtown.
Uh-oh, Loger? What's that gonna cost me?
I was really good. Just another diamond bracelet.
Just a diamond bracelet? That doesn't sound like you.
You're right. I don't like to break up a set, so I got matching diamond earrings and a matching diamond necklace.
How much, Laura?
Oh, but Jeff, they look so good on me.
I said how much?
$83.
$83? Why, that's practically our food budget for 2 whole months.
Things change. It took so long to write and then so long to get the financing.
Yeah.
That people either age out of being correct for the part, or you change your mind, or someone's not available. You know, it's constantly, making a film is a constantly breathing process.
Yeah. As I was watching this film last Saturday at the WGA, I thought Hong Cho's character was brilliant. I mean, I interviewed her a few years ago for Treme. She came down
you
to our
did?
studio
Oh, wow.
already. But she is such a low-key actress that I'm sure no one knows, right? So as I was watching this film, and I'm thinking, how brilliant is her character? She's a Vietnamese dissident, which is happening right now in Vietnam right now. I'll tell you a story later. But so a Vietnamese dissident fighting for the environment and her, you know, whatever, in the whole family, I don't want to say. But I'm like, this is so real to our Vietnamese people outside of Vietnam, because I have friends, we know people who just been sentenced last week for 7 years for covering the Formosa situation in Vietnam, and he's just an
The
independent.
blogger, the young blogger guy?
Yes, yes, and so our reporter just been sentenced last week for 7 years.
Yeah.
So like this story is so close to the Vietnamese people right now. And can you please share, where did you get the idea for Hong Cho?
Well,
to
first
play?
of all, thank you so much for appreciating that part of the story. It was
So
very
much.
important to
Yeah.
Jim and me. Here's where it came from. We thought, okay, so we have Matt Damon in the world where people are miniaturizing, are becoming small because they want to, because they can consume more. But also we considered that how this idea would ripple across the globe would include abuses. And we thought, well, probably some governments would force their prisoners to become small. And we also thought, how can we, and we wanted to include Asia somehow, because we had America and Matt Damon, we had Europe with Christoph Waltz. Well, how also can we include Asia somehow? And we thought, well, can we, and also to bring the character over to interact with Matt Damon. So we didn't have political, we had practical things in mind. And we thought, well, let's find a country where conceivably this could happen, sadly, with a prisoner, but that also ships manufactured goods to the United States, which she could hide in and be found. And so we had her, and increasingly Vietnam does ship manufactured goods to the United States, including televisions. So we said, well, let's say that she's in there with a bunch of different people. But like story-wise, what are we going to do with the other people? We don't want to have to worry about them, so they all die. Okay. but what about Ngoc Lan?
Yeah.
Well, she lives, but is she okay? Well, no, she should be hurt a little bit if everybody else died. How about if she loses a leg? Yeah, so then suddenly we have a delightful character, sad but delightful, of a one-legged Vietnamese activist, dissident in America.
Perfect.
And then to interact and eventually become the love interest with Matt Damon.
And how did you find Hong Cho?
Oh, so Hong Chow specifically.
Yeah.
It's my casting director and I began to put out feelers for casting in Vietnam, in Canada,
way.
in Australia, in Paris, here in the States, anywhere where there's a Vietnamese community.
Right.
And I was expecting perhaps a long process, because also I tend to be quite thorough. I really like to see everyone to make sure I'm getting the right one. But mercifully, Hong Chow was living in Los Angeles, 2 miles from our casting office. As you may know, she was born in Thailand at a refugee camp, and her
Boat refugee.
and her
Many of our stories are
Yep.
yeah.
and her family was sponsored, and they immigrated to Louisiana, where there's a large Vietnamese community. I think originally because of the shrimp industry, they had done shrimp back home, and then they did shrimp. Not her family. Her family has convenience stores. She's the first person in her family ever to attend university. She went to Boston University to study film. She loves movies, not acting, movies. And while there, she was acting in some of her comrades' films, and they would say, you know, Hong, you're pretty good. Who, me? No. Yeah, you are. So she kept hearing it enough that she got the message, and after film school, she went to New York and maybe took some classes and started getting cast. And here she is.
Amazing.
I had seen her once in something without knowing it. She's in Paul Thomas Anderson's Inherent Vice, a short but memorable part.
Wow.
And I wrote him, I sent him an email. I said, hey, Paul, you had this gal in your film. What's she like? He wrote back, Hong Chow is a star.
Amazing.
So there you have it.
Wow, thank you, sir.
Sometimes you think we're in the normal world, and then something happens,
Oh my God.
and you realize we're not.